I was already in the process of making a video to show who Dr. King really was. Then I saw the image that Sexyy Red uploaded, with her facing him in an AI photo. This sparked outrage from his daughter, Bernice, and she demanded the Sexyy Red take it down. So to that, I would like to say that Sexyy Red would probably have been the kind of woman Dr. King cheated on his wife with. And if we're truthful about real history, he definitely could not stay away from white women. You know, the white women who raised their sons to hate black people. So while he was supposedly fighting for civil rights, he was sleeping with the enemy at the same time. But after realizing that black men could sleep with white women without having the permission of all of white America, only then did he begin focusing on fighting for legislation for black people that really mattered. But by then it was too late. But notice that the white power structure didn't take him out because he was sleeping with white women. Because as much as black men to this day believe that they're fighting for something by sleeping with white women, white men do not care. And the power structure took Dr. King out when he said he was coming to Washington to get a check.
Today, many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with, and this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
J. Edgar Hoover sent Coretta audio tapes of his bedroom activities. So if we know about his indiscretions with other women, certainly his daughter knows. And what's ironic is that Dr. King said he doesn't care who knows, and he's not going to stop. And in this next video, you're going to hear an excerpt from a book written about Dr. King.
Now we're at the point where he's talking about where J. Edgar Hoover is coming for him and his outside activities. When no one would do Hoover's dirty work for him, someone in the FBI put together a tape of highly intimate moments and sent them to Martin. Unfortunately, and perhaps this was deliberate, Coretta received the tape and played it first. But such accusations never seemed to touch her. She rose above all the petty attempts to damage their marriage by refusing to even entertain such thoughts. With Hoover's men hiding under every bed, you can't just afford to continue the way you have. Sitting there on the edge of the cot, he stared at the wall for a long time, weighing what I had said. When he answered, it was with a friendly but firm tone. Ralph, what you say may be right, but I don't care. Nor do I care what Mr. Hoover thinks or says. The FBI can do whatever they please, but I have no intention of cutting off this relationship. So MLK said, I don't care. I don't care about how this is impacting my brand, my relationship with my wife, the civil rights movement, any of that. So he was deliberate in these affairs. This coming from a pastor who should understand what integrity is, and for a leader of a movement to be like this, it is egregious. And when I heard about these relationships, regardless of if they were with a black woman or a white woman, it was with women that were not his wife.
According to his friends who knew him in seminary school, he sacrificed the love of his life to be the man his family wanted him to be, and the man that the civil rights movement needed. But if he'd had his own choice to make his own decisions and be his own man, his lady, most likely, would have been a white one. This one, Betty Moes. And let his friends tell it, a big part of who he found himself to be was centered in a romance with Betty Moes, a young white woman who was an art student and cafeteria worker. Their love affair started in 1949, and even though Martin's school wasn't in his native Atlanta or anywhere else in the South, where racial segregation was more apparent than in northern parts of the country, his friends warned him to end his relationship with Betty. Records of these conversations are what call into question King's motive for fighting. Was he fighting for the equality of black people, or was he fighting for black men to have access to white women?
It is my belief and opinion that because he was forced to give up the relationship with the white woman that he dated in college, that he was either blinded of the real plight of Black America, or he cared more about focusing on trying to get white America to see that if they allowed us to eat with them, work with them, and go to school with them, they would see the humanity in us and ultimately accept us. But in his mind, what he was really fighting for is for little black kids and little white kids to be able to hold hands and whatever else he said, and projected his relationship with this white woman onto all America.
According to Reverend Pius J. Barber, who was a friend to King in his seminary days, MLK was idealistic, and the fact that he couldn't be with Betty left him, quote, a man with a broken heart. And just how did King get over his broken heart? As claimed by Reverend Barber, quote, he never recovered, end quote. ML and Betty dated from 1949 until 1951. 2 years later, he was married to Coretta Scott. Betty died in 2016 at the age of 89.
Before Dr. King was unalived, he realized that integrating black people into white society was the wrong thing to do. And he described it as leading us into a burning building.
You know, the last thing Dr. King said to me before he was murdered, I sit here deeply concerned that I suspect we are leading our nation on an integration trip that has us integrating into a burning house. Most of the politicians I know of make promises only to walk into the places of power and then deny us. I guess part of the reason I'm here is to really look through the ravages of the Democratic Party and see if anything is really worth salvaging.
Civil rights should have been the last thing on the list. What about fighting for the land that we were promised? Or reparations? Instead, he fought for the right to sit in the front of the bus and to eat at their restaurants. So why is MLK a federal holiday when they're the same people who unalived him? It's to remind black people each year to stay peaceful. And that is why they gave him a Nobel Peace Prize, because he fought peacefully. And they gave Barack Obama a Nobel Peace Prize for the same reason, and they want black people to remain in that state of mind. So now that you're reaping the benefits of Dr. King's hard work, and you're able to sit and be served by white people in their restaurants, how are you feeling out there?
And y'all want to come and eat at these people. Y'all nasty. I need to eat on the plastic plate now.